What's up, guys? How y'all doing? I have returned for another recap video. If you saw my last one, it was on University of Hawaii men's basketball's road trip to Long Beach State and UC San Diego, and UH unfortunately came away empty-handed. But this time, I got two recap videos. This is the second one, so let's get started. All right, guys, just before I do that, let me just remind you guys, subscribe if you haven't. That's how my channel grows. And I got my channel remonetized. I want to be able to keep it. And the only way I can do that is if you hit the subscribe button. I'm going to put up my banner right now. Voila. Aaron Plessinger, first-time winner at San Diego Supercross. Nate Thrasher winning the 250s. Now, I got to tell you, that was a very good ride, and the track was actually a lot more rideable than last week at San Francisco when it was pretty much a quagmire, just like that Seville race. But San Diego, for us having back-to-back mud races, at least it wasn't the kind of sloshy kind of mud like how we had last week in San Fran. And the guys were doing the triples. So generally that mud race was not necessarily bad per se, but I'm still a little bit disappointed that we had back-to-back mud races for probably the first time in Supercross history. I also had to say, though, unfortunately, I didn't quite see the 250s, but I did know who won. But I will say, though, RJ Hampshire, I don't know what's up with that guy. He wins the first round, and now has had two bad races, but probably not as bad as Jo Shimoda. I mean, for Shimoda, his Honda seized in the heat race. I thought he was out to the LCQ, but it turns out he made it to the line in time to make it to the main event. But Nate Thrasher winning, that actually came as a bit of a surprise to me. Basically because Thrasher 1 week ago found himself on his head, and just seeing him come through with the win is a big turnaround. And a guy that I was a little bit bummed for was Levi Kitchen after he went down, because I thought he was going to make a run for the lead. And he did for a while, but unfortunately, that track was really tough to, keep it on two wheels, but not quite as bad as San Fran, when it was like who could keep it up the longest. And of course, the latest rumor is Jorge Prado in the 450 class is rumored to be in for Anaheim too, so we'll see what happens there. But still, I like to think that Hampshire hit another bump in the road. I definitely think that, maybe the pressure of winning the title is getting to him. I'm not sure, but I think it's also a time where the AMA has got to listen to other people's feedback on the point out rule, because I've been saying ever since this new rule came into place, although it's easier to understand, you're also defeating the purpose of the points system for second place on down. Because that's why I say that the point out rule, if you're going to leave that rule in, then fine. Win a title, you get 1 year to defend it. But they should have an alternate rule where if you score 100 points in 3 seasons, period, you should point out. That's the thing about it. I mean, allowing a living in the 250 class was not the point of this class, because back in 1985, when Dave Coons Sr. introduced the 125 class at the time, the idea was to make it a stepping stone to the premier class and not to have guys make a living in that class. Now they're basically making it okay to make a career in the 250 class. I mean, some guys have had lights-only careers, like Matt Walker's, Shea Bentley, and for a time, Martin Davalos did, Blake Wharton also. But still, The idea is to make the lights class or the 250 class a stepping stone to the premier 450 class. Okay? So if you're just going to focus on who the titleist is, you need to start focusing on those who score over 100 points. Okay? And not just if it's consecutively, then cool. But if it's not consecutive, don't make them start back from square one. That was the only complaint I had about the old rule, where you had to score over 100 points 3 consecutive times or 3 consecutive seasons. My only complaint with that was if it happens again, they may not get that opportunity. And look at what happened with Billy Laninovich, and he's a shining example of that. He scored over 100 points in 04, or not 04, but 05 and 06, and it looked like he was going to move up after 07, but an injured knee during the 06 motocross season pretty much ruined his plans. Then he ends up leaving the sport to become an electrician. But anyway, as far as the 250 class is concerned, I think it's about time that RJ Hampshire make a point to move up, regardless if he wins the title or not. Because you're only as good as your last race, and if you don't get a chance to be in the 450 class, then that's an opportunity wasted, honestly. But that's just the way I feel. So Nate Thrasher once again makes it his 5th career win. I have a feeling this guy is going to be a legitimate title contender. And but quite honestly, although Thrasher has gotten 5 career wins, I don't think he's really proven that he's a consistent podium guy, if you know what I mean. Still, I think he's a good rider, and sometimes you do need those years to just kind of get more comfortable. But Thrasher's still young. I have a feeling he'll be a titleist one year. Definitely not going to be this year, but maybe next year. Now the 450 class, as you can see on the banner, Aaron Plessinger, first-time winner. He righted the wrong for what happened in Detroit last year, where he crashed with only a lap and a half to go and lost the race to Chase Sexton. He finished 13th, and the bike was malfunctioning and was smoking. And I was hoping that wouldn't happen again, and wouldn't you know it, it never did. I thought Plessinger was really, really solid. And what also helps is the fact that Sexton and Tomac had their problems. And quite honestly, I do think that Sexton had it a little worse than Eli Tomac, but I don't think Eli Tomac looked like the Eli Tomac of old. Not going to lie to you. Because Tomac normally excels in whatever conditions they got, whether it be sand, mud, hard pack, technical stuff. So that kind of took me a little by surprise. And I'll tell you this, if you ask 10 people that if Aaron Plessinger was going to lap Chase Sexton and Eli Tomac in the same night, I guarantee you 10 people would have said that you're crazy. But it happened. That's what mud races do. But fortunately, this wasn't necessarily a sloshy kind of mud race. The guys are still doing the jumps. So technically, I kind of would call it a bit of a slick race. Kind of more like a slick mud race. But what we had at San Francisco was definitely mud. My definition of a mud race. So, but hey, congrats to Aaron Plessinger. And he really benefited from Ken Roczen going down. And quite honestly, if Roczen hadn't have gone down, I don't think Plessinger would have won that race. But Cooper Webb is showing us that he's the Cooper Webb of old on that Star Yamaha. I have a feeling that we'll see him in the winner's circle again. And if he can get a good start, he's tough to beat. Not going to lie to you. And if Rossi can keep it on two wheels, he's tough to beat. But I got to tell you, while Plessinger was celebrating, you could also see there was a bit of a hot moment between Jet Lawrence and Jason Anderson. And I have to admit, I kind of didn't really see all the battling going on between them, mainly because of the angles. But still, I was looking at some of the comments on Facebook, and one guy had a pretty interesting point. Anderson has taken out a lot of guys, and when it happens to him, then it's a problem. I actually agree with that, because I was thinking back to 2015 when Anderson jumped up to the 450 class, and he was taking guys out like crazy. And I'll tell you this, if Anderson took out the wrong guy, he was going to get what was coming to him. And then he could say that, and if he says that, oh, I never deserved that, I mean, are you sure about that? I mean, really, when you look at when Anderson was first moving up, he was riding aggressive, and aggressive riding, that's great. I like it, just like David Bailey. But if you're, as David Bailey said, aggressive riding, that's great. I like it. But if your intention is to kind of put the guy down or cut his line off, I'll be one of the first people to oppose that. And I'm pretty sure David Bailey would too. So really, I'm not sure if Jason Anderson's going to get hit with a penalty, maybe a written fine or something, or a written warning. But really, if you're Jason Anderson right now, you know that old saying, if you can dish it out, you can't take it. People are going to see that and know you're going to be an easy target. You see what I mean? So, honestly, if Anderson can't take a little something coming back at him, you don't belong in this sport, really. If you can't take a little something that what's coming to you. I don't think what Jet Lawrence did was intentional. And is it possible that Jet is realizing some of the learning curves of the 450 class? Maybe. But honestly, I still don't think he needs an instruction manual. He looked like he was ready at last summer when he swept the motocross season. And Jet, of course, is now 1-2 on a 450 in Supercross. But quite frankly, that's actually pretty good. That's almost like Chad Reed in a sense. So, of course, we go to Anaheim for a Triple Crown. I sure hope that some of the guys can put it back together, especially Ken Roxon. And Chase Sexton, yeah, I hope that he makes it back up to the top of the podium. But Sexton, I think, deserves the ride of the night because he was down in 18th as he crashed on the opening lap with Malcolm Stewart. And he worked hard for that 8th place. That was almost like a Tim Ferry kind of ride. But Eli Tomac just did not ride up to what he should be capable of. But a guy that I thought was really screwed out of a good run was Justin Cooper. I mean, the guy was up in the top 3 at one point, and I thought that, oh, this will be good for him, and then he messes up, and I guess he went off the track and went down. But that's what I mean when I said so many times that Justin Cooper reminds me a lot of Jimmy Button. And it's things like that that back up what I say. I don't know if you guys see the same thing, but let me know. And of course, with Ricky back in the booth, I actually thought he looked a little better than he did last week. But still, I still think he's got to give his own opinions. And quite frankly, this is the only thing I'm going to say about this. I'd rather have someone out there handling the booth announcer like Jeff Emig, handling the booth announcer role than RC would. Not going to lie to you. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But Rick, he's a hell of a guy. I'll give him that. at least on the track anyway. But I don't know. When it comes to announcing, it's another story. So anyway, guys, that's all for today. I'll see you all then. And for now, just remember, subscribe. That's how my channel grows. I want to be able to keep my monetization status, and I can do that if you hit the subscribe button. So anyway, guys, thanks, guys. Remember, subscribe. I'll catch you all later.